So I recently saw Madrybread's videos where he took the challenge to beat Pokemon Red and Pokemon Gold with only in-game traded Pokemon, as well as Picaspri's Slackoth only and Ditto only challenges. It got me thinking about what other challenges I could try that might be similar. What came to mind first was a no Pokeball challenge. But no, I'm taking it a step further than that. These challenges tend to lay out the rules at the beginning of the video, and the most common rule I see is no items in battle. And to that I say, okay, but how about no items period? ? Now right off the bat this means no Pokeballs, no TMs, and no battle items. So no potions, no antidotes or status cures, no X items, no ethers, no revives, and no berries or other held items. Not only will we be unable to heal during battle, we will have to visit a Pokemon Center anytime we want to heal between battles. More importantly, no Pokeballs means we will be unable to catch any wild Pokemon or take advantage of any in-game trades, so new team members will be hard to come by. I'm also going to add the restriction that we may not sell our items for money, so as soon as we obtain any item, we'll toss it if possible. And what better way to kick off the no items run than immediately withdrawing the potion we've been saving in our PC and throwing it away. I can just feel the urge to litter growing inside me. Quick side note, I'm normally not a very fast talker, but I'll do my best to keep a brisk pace so this video doesn't drag on too long. Get it? Drag on? 'Cause... Yep. Okay, we head out of Pallet Town, and immediately back into Pallet Town, where Oak gives us our starter. Obviously, we choose Charmander. We then proceed to wipe the floor with our rival's weak-ass turtle and set out for Viridian City. On the way there, this very nice man gives us a free potion to promote the Pokemart. Thanks dude, I'll be sure to make real good use of this. Now like any good set of rules, there must be a few exceptions to ours. Certain key items are required to make progress, so we will be allowed to keep those in our bag, but not allowed to use them manually. I'll clarify some more rules for key items later in the video, but the first example of this is Oak's parcel, which we obtained from the Viridian City Pokemart. Upon delivering it, Oak gives us the Pokédex as well as 5 Pokeballs, which we immediately toss. I head straight past Asswipe's house without picking up the town map, and make my way back to Viridian City. This old man stops us at the edge of town and teaches us how to catch Pokemon, and then burdens us with this teachy TV bullshit. Like Oak's parcel, this is a key item that we cannot toss or deposit in the PC, so we're forced to keep it in our bag, but for the sake of this challenge we cannot use it. I know, it's a bummer. On to Viridian Forest. Ember makes quick work of the trainers here, and it's very easy to train Thick up to level 13, at which point I'm confident enough to go back to Viridian City and battle my rival's level 9 Pidgey and Squirtle. It's a pretty easy fight, especially since I one-shot his Pidgey with a critical Ember, and before long we're in Pewter City. I immediately head to the gym and take out the first trainer, whose Geodude and Sandshrew give some pretty good experience, then go grind on Route 2 to train Thick up to level 16 where he evolves into a Charmeleon. Now we're getting somewhere. With our newly enhanced thickness, the battle against Brock goes smoothly. His Geodude goes down to 2 Metal Claws, and I use 1 Growl on his Onix before going for some Embers. Onix's Rock Tomb is a little scary, but fortunately after the first one he decides to use nothing but Tackle, and Thick takes him out easily. Badge number 1 acquired. One upside of this challenge is that there's really no downside to whiting out, so traveling back to a Pokemon Center to heal is sometimes going to be less appealing than simply progressing as far as we can until all our Pokemon faint. Something I imagine might come into play later when we're exploring Rock Tunnel or Victory Road. Normally it sucks to lose half your money, but since there are no items we can buy that we would be allowed to use, losing money doesn't really matter. There are only 2 occasions where we'll be in need of money. We'll have to pay $500 to enter the Safari Zone, and we want to have at least $500 by the time we reach Mount Moon. You'll see why in a moment. After receiving the TM for Rock Tomb that we aren't allowed to use, we head east and one of Oak's employees gives us a pair of running shoes. To make this challenge just a tad less agonizing, I'm going to allow myself to use the running shoes, since they're not an item that must be accessed from the bag, but rather a piece of equipment like the Pokédex, and because they have no impact on the game other than allowing me to walk faster. In contrast, having a bicycle would grant us access to Cycling Road, which is not required for us to make progress, so obtaining the bike won't be allowed. Now on Route 3, I avoid as many battles as possible and make my way to the Pokemon Center outside of Mount Moon. Inside is a man who sells Magikarp for $500. We have more than enough money to afford one, and can finally add a second Pokemon to our team. I put my son at the front of the party and backtrack through Route 3, fighting all the trainers I passed by before to level him up. Fun fact, I recently learned from Picaspri that hidden berries are marked with a certain tile that looks like a struck through M. Lo and behold, we find a hidden Oranberry in this very spot on Route 3. Thanks for the tip, Asprey. My son is still only at level 8, so I head into Mount Moon, leaving him at the front of the party. I don't really feel like hunting down every single item just to toss it, so I just ignore them from now on. I fight every trainer and wild Pokemon I see, and as we near the end of Mount Moon, my son finally reaches level 15 and learns Tackle. We grab the Dome Fossil because Kabutops is infinitely cooler than the horrendous monstrosity known as Almastar. I mean, look at him! and finally find the exit. On the final stretch before Cerulean, I have Thick learn Mega Punch from this move tutor to replace Scratch. Since we can't use TMs, move tutors are the only way we'll be able to teach our Pokemon new moves that they wouldn't learn naturally. Finally, Cerulean City. I immediately head over to the gym and use my son to beat this swimmer for some easy experience, then head north for the next rival battle. S-Wipe's Pidgeotto hits me with 2 critical tackles and 2 sand attacks, causing Ember to miss 3 times in a row. At this point I'm getting a bit worried I took this battle too soon, but Ember finally hits and burns Pidgeotto, and the next Ember finishes it off. Next is Squirtle, who I get a lucky critical Mega Punch against, bringing its health low enough for an Ember to take it out. I let my son take care of Abra all on his own to get the full experience for himself, then take out Rattata with one last Ember. A bit rocky at first, but overall an easy battle that got my son most of the way to level 17. S-Wipe then gives us yet another key item that we can't use but can't get rid of. The trainers on Nugget Bridge aren't much trouble, and this member of Team Rocket gives us a Nugget, which we throw right back in his face after murdering his Pokemon. As we plow through Route 25, my son finally evolves into a Gyarados and learns Bite, and good god is he suddenly a fucking monster. We then walk in on Bill discovering his inner furry, and he gives us our next required key item, the SS ticket. We return to Cerulean City. Beating Misty is a piece of cake, this Team Rocket dude is a pushover, and we're on our way to Vermilion. Oh, and we also got the TMs for Water Pulse and Dig, but you know, can't use them. We don't pick up the Old Rod or the bike voucher, and instead go straight to the SS Anne and sweep through all the trainers on board. I also dig a Cherry Berry out of the trash and then throw it on the floor for someone else to clean up later. My son easily takes care of the next rival battle on his own, and we pick up HM1 from the captain. Now's probably a good time to explain how I'll be handling HMs. Since they are required to progress through the game, I'll be allowing the use of HMs, but we can only use each HM one time. Once someone in my party knows an HM move, the HM itself becomes an item that is no longer necessary to make progress. Additionally, we're never allowed to use HMs 2 or 5, as neither Fly nor Flash are required to complete the game, so I won't even bother picking them up. Now that I have Thick equipped with Cut, we battle all the trainers on Route 11 before visiting the Vermilion Gym, and I focus on leveling up Thick since we're going to be relying on him to earn us that Thunder Badge. By the time we get back to Vermilion and take out the trainers in the gym, Thick is up to level 30, so I'm feeling pretty good about the battle with Lieutenant Surge. He wastes his Super Potion on Voltorb, so the battle is a walk in the park. Raichu does manage to paralyze me, and Shockwave does some decent damage, but 3 Embers take him out no problem. Another day, another badge, another worthless TM. We head back to Cerulean and go east toward Rock Tunnel, avoiding as many trainers as possible. I want to save these battles for later. Unlike in Mount Moon, I'm not going to bother with any wild Pokemon, though I do battle every trainer here for the XP. I could save these battles for later, but I am not going to blindly walk through Rock Tunnel a second time. I expected the trip to be easy, but both my Pokemon are weak to Rock-type moves, and neither is strong enough to one-shot the various Geodudes and Onixes with levels in the low 20s. The occasional rock throws really start to add up, and by the time I'm a little over halfway through Rock Tunnel, my son faints, and Thick's HP is dangerously low. Like I said earlier, whiting out isn't a huge deal, so even though my instinct is to backtrack to the last Pokemon Center, I instead push onwards. Thick takes down the next trainer with ease, and after that is a Hiker with 2 Geodudes and a Graveler. My first Metal Claw isn't enough to one-shot Geodude, but it does raise my attack, and Geodude wastes a turn using Mud Sport. I finish it off with Ember, and the next Geodude does get one-shot by Metal Claw, thanks to my boosted attack stat. Unfortunately, it's not enough to one-shot his Graveler, and he finally uses Rock Throw to secure the win. Our first whiteout. Oh well. The trip goes much faster the second time since we've beaten most of the trainers already, and we get to Lavender with no trouble. I head straight west to get to Celadon as soon as possible, avoiding any battles I can. Once we arrive, I immediately sneak into the Pokemon Mansion and steal an Eevee. Finally, we have a third Pokemon on our team, and it's a personal favorite of mine. On the downside, even though we're just down the street from Celadon Department Store, since we can't use items, we can't use an evolution stone to evolve our Eevee, which is a shame since Jolteon is my favorite Pokemon, and some electric type coverage would really round out our team nicely right now. Fluff Daddy is several levels behind our other 2 Pokemon, so I re-enter the mansion through the front door, grab the tea, and cut through Saffron to get back to Cerulean. If you'll remember, there are some trainers to the east that we haven't battled yet, so I use them to level up Fluff Daddy. We also come across a Clefairy with Cute Charm, which I forgot was a thing, and Fluff Daddy falls in love with her after making contact with Quick Attack. Clefairy applauds and cheers on her new boyfriend, which I thought was really sweet, for the brief moment before he brutally murdered her with a second Quick Attack. We let Fluff Daddy battle the trainers I avoided on Route 8, then return to Celadon and take on the gym. Thick one-shots the first 2 Pokemon he sees with Ember and hits level 34, replacing Ember with Flamethrower, which is basically a death sentence for the entire gym. Flamethrower one-shots every single Pokemon in the gym, though I do let Fluff Daddy 1v1 Erika's Tangela to get a little of that sweet XP. With one last Flamethrower, we take out Vileplume, bringing Thick up to level 36. And just like that, we've earned ourselves a Rainbow Badge, and to top it off, we get to sit back and watch as Thick evolves into a Charizard. And boy does he live up to his name. As another bonus, Thick is immediately ready to learn Wing Attack, so we head straight to Saffron City to blaze through the fighting dojo and pick up a Hitmonlee. We're up to 4 Pokemon, and our team is starting to feel pretty strong. I head back to Rock Tunnel and visit this move tutor who will teach one of my Pokemon Rock Slide. This is a very strong physical move, so I teach it to Kick to replace Focus Energy. This should give him a better chance against flying types, as well as finally giving us something that's strong against fire types. Immediately after learning Rock Slide, we take on a nearby Pokemaniac with 3 Slowpokes, all of whom get swept by Kick as Rock Slide hits 6 times in a row, causing all 3 Slowpokes to flinch on the first hit. This seems like a very good omen to me. After that, we finish off the last few trainers in the area, and we can even have a quick rival battle at Pokemon Tower. And while we're here, even though we can't progress to the top floor yet without the Silph Scope, I go ahead and defeat all the channelers to level up Fluff Daddy. I also return to Celadon and take care of this double battle on the western outskirts. Now having tied up all our loose ends, we're ready to infiltrate the Rocket Game Corner and advance the story. My first instinct is to pick up all the hidden coins around the lobby, but then I remember that we aren't allowed to use the coin case, which means we won't be able to purchase any of the Pokemon in the prize corner, thus closing off yet another way we might have obtained a new Pokemon without the use of Pokeballs. We make our way downstairs and fight everyone we can find. We're pretty overleveled at this point, so the battles are all very easy. There is this one item that we have to pick up since it's blocking the way. Turns out it's a Moonstone. Goodbye, priceless artifact. There's also a super potion down here that you'll have to pick up if you end up here, but you don't need to go this way. We pick up our next essential key item from this guy, then use the lift key to turn on the elevator and reach Giovanni. Brick Break shreds his team of rock and normal types, and he leaves us with another required item, the Silph Scope. Now we can head back to the top of Pokemon Tower to obtain yet another crucial key item from Mr. Fuji, the Pokeflute. Just as a reminder, we are not allowed to use the Pokeflute for any reason other than to make progress in the story. Since we can't access Cycling Road, waking up the Snorlax west of Celadon won't help us, so we can't use the Pokeflute to do so. To reach Fuchsia City, we must travel south from Lavender Town, so we'll have to use the Pokeflute to wake up the Snorlax on Route 12. This is the only time we'll be allowed to use the Pokeflute the entire playthrough. In the making of this challenge, I considered enforcing a similar rule for some other key items and HM moves, to only allow their use when absolutely necessary, but I wasn't sure where exactly to draw the line. I could have forbidden us from doing anything aboard the SS Anne aside from the rival battle and obtaining HM1. I could have forbidden us from battling this random rocket grunt in the game corner who can only be accessed from the elevator, which requires a lift key. And I could forbid us from fighting any wild ghost Pokemon as we climb Pokemon Tower, since we'd be unable to battle them without the Silph Scope. Ultimately, none of these decisions have a significant impact on the game, but here's my thought process. In essence, items like the SS ticket simply serve to unlock required events in a linear storyline. Once an event is underway, I feel we should be able to fully explore and engage every aspect of it, even if this requires passive use of the key item that was used to unlock it. As a result, I've decided to allow such use of these items. The Pokeflute is somewhat unique in that it comes at a single temporary fork in the storyline. We can use the Pokeflute to unlock and explore one of these 2 possible paths, but not both. The route from Lavender to Fuchsia does not require the bicycle, so this is the one we'll choose, and outside of this event, the Pokeflute may not be used. In the case of HM moves, I could forbid the use of Cut to reach areas that aren't required, such as this clearing west of Celadon where we had that double battle, and I could forbid the use of Surf to access the power plant should we want to later. But would I then also have to forbid us from using HM moves in battle, since they're technically not required when I have up to 3 other moves to choose from? In the end, I just decided to go with the single use restriction I mentioned earlier in the video, and once a Pokemon knows an HM move, we can utilize it to the full extent of its capabilities. Okay. Before we set out for Fuchsia City, let's take care of some unfinished business in Saffron. First, we have to get Silphco out of the way. I immediately take this teleporter on the 9th floor to find the card key, then take this teleporter on the 3rd floor to reach a move tutor who teaches my son Thunder Wave. I then return to the 3rd floor again and unlock the teleporter that takes me to Asswipe. We take him out, no big deal, and the other person in the room gives us a Lapras. This is great, and I start tearing through the entire building, fighting everyone I can to help Lapdance level up. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, our team is complete. Yes, that's right, this Lapras was the final obtainable Pokemon for this challenge. Let's have a quick recap. As you know, we can't catch any wild Pokemon since we are unable to use Pokeballs. One option for obtaining Pokemon now would be to purchase one from the game corner, but since we can't use the coin case, that's not possible. Another option would be to resurrect our Dome Fossil or the Old Amber at the Cinnabar Lab, but since those are technically items and not necessary to complete the game, we can't do that either. We could also travel to the Sevi Islands after defeating Blaine and get a Togepi egg from the Water Labyrinth, but traveling to the Sevi Islands will force you to obtain the Tri-Pass, and then use it to complete the story arc that follows, and since the Sevi Islands story arc is not a required portion of the game, using the Tri-Pass is not allowed, so we aren't allowed to visit the Sevi Islands in the first place, and will have no way to obtain the Togepi egg. So it seems this is the weird little squad we'll be conquering Kanto with. I'm getting very attached to these guys, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, Lapdance is now up to level 34 and has learned Ice Beam, which makes the battle against Giovanni fairly easy. After he pieces out, we can talk to the president and get our hands on the game's one and only Master Ball. Nice. After that, we go take over Sabrina's gym, and god, this gym is annoying. First of all, I've been restraining myself from saying it this entire playthrough, but I guarantee nobody has worse luck than me when it comes to confusion. My Pokemon routinely hit themselves 3 to 4 times in a row before managing to attack, and wouldn't you know it, a lot of the Psychic and Ghost-type Pokemon here can learn Confuse Ray. Secondly, while it's nice to have a normal type who knows a dark type move against a bunch of ghost types, it seems every single Ghastly we face knows the move Destiny Bond, a ghost type move that can, for some reason, affect normal type Pokemon and has perfect accuracy. And because Ghastly has 80 base speed, big thanks to whoever thought that was a good idea, every one of them outspeeds Fluff Daddy and uses Destiny Bond just before he one-shots them with Bite, thus preventing him or any of my other Pokemon from gaining experience, not to mention lots of trips across town to visit the Pokemon Center. Anyway, we beat Sabrina without too much trouble and earn our 5th badge, as well as the TM for Calm Mind, which is just as useless in any other playthrough as it is now. Finally, time to make use of that Pokeflute and travel south from Lavender to Fuchsia. We go straight past the fishing guru's brother as well as the girl who would give us the TM for return, which really would have been nice to teach Fluff Daddy. I wish she was a move tutor instead. The trainers along Route 12 are absolutely no match for us, and the Snorlax gets one-shot by High Jump Kick. Routes 13, 14, and 15 are barely any harder, and our biggest hurdle right now is running out of moves and having to run to a Pokemon Center to replenish PP. On the topic of routes 13 through 15, remember when I complained about my terrible luck with confusion? Well, as you may know, routes 13 through 15 contain a lot of bikers who train nothing but Poison-type Pokemon, many of whom know the move Sludge. Sludge deals damage and has a 30% chance of poisoning the target. Bullshit. Here's a quick compilation of every time an opponent used Sludge against me just on routes 13 through 15. Sludge poisoned me a total of 5 times just on the second half of the trip from Lavender to Fuchsia. This isn't even counting the additional times I was poisoned by Smog or Poison Powder. I am really starting to miss having a ground or psychic type in my party. Once we arrive, I cut across Fuchsia and beat these 3 bird keepers as well. By now all 5 of my Pokemon are at level 40. Looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and enter the Safari Zone. Even though Safari Balls aren't technically stored in our bag like other items, they're still an item, I mean, let's be real. And using them is optional, so we just run straight through, ignoring all the wild Pokemon and scattered items, pick up the gold teeth, and claim our Surf HM with over half our steps left. Everything we needed in just one go. Now we can trade the gold teeth for HM4, then teach Strength to Kick and Surf to Lap Dance. These are both powerful moves in battle, especially since Strength will utilize Kick's insanely high attack, and Surf will get the benefit of stab damage with Lap Dance. Our team is really starting to come together. Next we defeat the swimmers on the south coast of Fuchsia, then start beating all the trainers in Koga's gym using only Lap Dance. Our main goal right now is to train him up to level 43, where he will learn the move Safeguard. Safeguard protects your entire team from status afflictions for the next 5 turns, which is huge for a team that can't utilize any items to cure them. Surf proves to be even stronger than I expected, and Lap Dance obliterates every trainer in the gym all on his own. I return to this patch of grass west of Fuchsia and flatten a few birds with Body Slam to bring Lap Dance up to level 43. Now time for the showdown with Koga. While it would have been nice to have when slogging my way through Sludge Valley earlier, I wanted to learn Safeguard for this exact occasion. My plan is to start off the battle with Safeguard, which would hopefully give me enough of an advantage despite my lack of any ground or psychic moves. Surf one-shots both of his Coughings, and I send out Thick to deal with his Muck, but unfortunately Minimize and a Hyper Potion allow him to stall long enough for my Safeguard to end, and on the very next turn, Sludge poisons me. Thick faints, so I send out Lap Dance again and set up another Safeguard. Muck goes down to a few more Surfs. Last is Wheezing, and with half health remaining, I decide to go for an Ice Beam, thinking I might get lucky and freeze him. It doesn't freeze, but it does bring him below half health, and a second Ice Beam wins us the battle. Badge, TM, you know the drill. Now that we're able to surf, I beat all the trainers between Fuchsia and the Seafoam Islands, then run all the way up north to Cerulean City to fight the trainers outside Cerulean Cave and the power plant. At this point, I'm pretty sure I've beaten every available trainer in the region except those around Cinnabar Island. So, now that we've done everything we can and finished our business in Fuchsia, next stop, Cinnabar. Time to fly back to Pallet Town and surf south until we... Oh. Right. Since Fly is not technically required to progress through the game, we can't use it to get back to Pallet Town. Instead, we'll have to take the alternate route to Cinnabar, which is to surf southwest from Fuchsia City and go through the Seafoam Islands. This sucks. This makes me sad. I really do not want to deal with that nightmare, so let's consider a bit more. After traveling through Mount Moon, there's a ledge that prevents us from going back once we enter Cerulean City. So normally I don't return to Pallet Town until I reach Celadon and one of my Pokemon learns Fly. I've never played through Kanto without having Fly, so it's never really crossed my mind that you can get around this barrier by surfing to Cerulean Cave and traveling west. So we could backtrack through Mount Moon to Pewter City, then walk south through Viridian Forest, all the way back to Pallet Town from there. Certainly better than Seafoam Islands, but still not a very appealing idea. But wait, there is a better way. Since Flash is not a required HM either, I never bothered to retrieve it from Professor Oak's aid before entering Rock Tunnel. As a result, I never felt it necessary to enter Diglett's Cave. Luckily for us, Diglett's Cave leads all the way back to Route 2, where we can now easily reach either Pewter or Viridian City by cutting down one of several trees, without even having to travel through Viridian Forest. Diglett's Cave is also much shorter and less annoying to traverse than Mount Moon, and we don't even have to worry about fighting any of the wild Diglett or Dugtrio so long as we place Fluff Daddy first in our party, thanks to his ability Run Away. You have no idea how delighted and relieved I was as all these little realizations started falling into place. Now back on Route 2, I make a quick stop at the Pewter City Museum to visit this move tutor so that Thick can learn the move Seismic Toss. We don't really need Metal Claw to deal with rock types anymore, and now that our levels are getting into the 40s, Seismic Toss is a decent replacement. Even better than learning Dragon Rage at level 54. Soon we're surfing towards Cinnabar, laying down a beating on low-level fishermen and swimmers along the way. Once we arrive, I surf east to defeat everyone between Cinnabar and the Seafoam Islands, then beat everyone in the Cinnabar Mansion, grab the secret key, and proceed to wreck Blaine's gym. I've got 4 Pokemon who are strong or resistant against fire. It's easy. Bill asks us out on a date, but we are way out of his league, and it's back to Viridian City where we absolutely dumpster Giovanni and claim the 8th badge. Then we have another battle against Asswipe, and now that we've got Lapdance to deal with his Pidgeot, it's an easy win. It still sucks not having any electric or grass type moves to deal with his Blastoise, and I can tell it's going to be a problem when we fight him again later. And yes, our Lapras could easily deal with a Venusaur or Charizard if we'd picked a different starter. Leave me alone. Next up, Victory Road! With no items. This is gonna be fun. I keep Fluff Daddy at the front of the party because I do not feel like wasting moves on the wild Pokemon here. As usual, I track down every last trainer for the experience, and despite what I said about it not mattering if we white out, I do run back to Viridian City once to heal so that my fainted Pokemon don't fall several levels behind. Eventually we make it to the exit, where a move tutor is waiting to teach us Double Edge. I teach it to Fluff Daddy to replace Takedown, and it's onto the Indigo Plateau. We've now completed every single trainer battle in Kanto with only one whiteout, except the Elite Four, Champion Asswipe, and those bikers I wasn't allowed to fight on Cycling Road. And the Sevi Islands. Anyway, here's our situation. None of our Pokemon have even reached level 50 yet, which isn't great. For the first time this playthrough, I'm feeling kind of underleveled, and it's starting to get really noticeable how weak my son is without any strong physical attacks like Hyper Beam, which he won't learn until level 55. But as difficult as it's going to be to sweep the Elite Four and Asswipe all in a row with no items, there is some good news. The Elite Four's Pokemon are extremely powerful, and as a result they award a hefty amount of XP when you knock them out, so battling them will allow our Pokemon to level up very quickly. And as you know, since we don't have to concern ourselves with money or items, there's no downside to whiting out. This means we can simply throw ourselves at the Elite Four over and over again until our Pokemon reach a high enough level that we win. Our first big problem is Lorelai's Slowbro, which is a dual water and psychic type. Bite hardly does anything against it due to Fluff Daddy's and my son's terrible special attack stats, and we can't brute force it with Flamethrower, Surf, or High Jump Kick due to type disadvantages. Slowbro also has 110 base defense, so strength isn't all that effective against it either. On top of all that, it likes to use Yawn to constantly put my Pokemon to sleep and then finish them off with Surf and Ice Beam. Eventually, I realize our best bet is to repeatedly set up safeguards while we slowly chip away its HP with Lapdance's Body Slam. This strategy makes us immune to Surf and Yawn, and doubly resistant to Ice Beam, and we'll be hitting it with physical attacks while it uses Amnesia to buff its special defense. Once it's down to a sliver of HP, I spam Safeguard until it runs out to refresh it, which should protect us from Lovely Kiss and Confuse Ray as we wipe out the rest of her team. Flamethrower one-shots Cloyster, Rock Slide one-shots Jinx, and Lapras goes down to 2 Brick Breaks. Our next wall is Bruno's Hitmonchan and Machamp. Both of them know their move Rock Tomb, which deals quadruple damage against Thick. Since he can't one-shot either of them with Wing Attack or Flamethrower, they're able to hit him with Rock Tomb, lowering his speed enough for them to attack first on the next turn and knock him out. Lapdance and Fluff Daddy are both very weak to fighting types, and Rock Tomb is super effective against my son. Kick is able to do some decent neutral damage, but both Hitmonchan and Machamp have pretty respectable base defense, allowing them to survive the first hit and hit back even harder against Kick's much lower defense. I grind in Victory Road until my son reaches level 55 and learns Dragon Dance and Hyper Beam, and after a few more attempts, I've got a strategy for beating Bruno. Thick and Fluff Daddy are starting to fall behind in levels as well, and a few of the one-shots I'm relying on aren't very consistent yet, so between attempts I grind everyone up to at least level 55. I send out Fluff Daddy first against Onix and use Sand Attack twice. Rock Tomb hits me once, but Earthquake misses and I send out my son. Thanks to Onix's terrible attack stat, which Intimidate lowers even more, we can afford to take a few Rock Tombs, if they even hit us, while using Dragon Dance 3 times, then one-shot it with Hydro Pump. Hyper Beam one-shots Hitmonchan thanks to our boosted attack. Machamp uses Scary Face while we recharge, but we still manage to outspeed him and Hyper Beam one-shots him too. Hitmonlee goes down to Wing Attack, and Surf takes out the other Onix. Alright, time to smack this old lady around. Agatha's Gengar likes to lead off with Double Team, so I set up a safeguard and take it out with 2 Surfs. Golbat uses Poison Fang just after our safeguard runs out, but luckily it doesn't poison me, so I set up another safeguard and one-shot it with Ice Beam. Arbok goes down to 2 Hyper Beams, and Thick outspeeds Agatha's second Gengar and one-shots it with a critical Flamethrower. I switch to Fluff Daddy, hoping Bite takes out Haunter after it uses Curse. Instead, it uses Hypnosis and puts us to sleep, then uses Curse, but Fluff Daddy wakes up right away and hits it with Bite, bringing it down into full restore range. I swap back to Thick and one-shot it with Flamethrower. Should have done that in the first place. Lance's Gyarados is actually moderately threatening since we have no Electric type moves. On one of my failed attempts, I managed to make it flinch with Rock Slide and immediately got a critical hit on my next Rock Slide to take it out, but sadly this isn't a reliable strategy. If Rock Slide doesn't make Gyarados flinch, it will easily take out Kick with Hyper Beam. Instead we start with my son. We both intimidate each other, and I use Dragon Dance 3 times to raise our attack while it slowly chips at our HP with Dragon Rage and Bite. With our very last Hyper Beam, we one-shot him. Next up is Aerodactyl, which is guaranteed to outspeed anyone in my party. Ancient Power is pretty dangerous to Lap Dance, and I need to not get hit by it more than once. We take an Ancient Power that brings us just under half health, then use Surf to nearly one-shot it, and another Surf to waste Lance's full restore. I then swap to my son, planning to sacrifice him to lower Aerodactyl's attack stat, and then send out Kick, who would hopefully survive long enough with his resistance to Rock-type moves to take Aerodactyl out with a neutral damage Brick Break. To my surprise, Aerodactyl uses Hyper Beam, so I send out Lap Dance while it recharges and take it out with one last Surf. Ice Beam one-shots both of Lance's Dragonair, but his Dragonite outspeeds us and hits hard with Outrage. We just barely survive and end the battle with a quadruple damage Ice Beam. Well, here we are at the final battle against Asswipe. Our team isn't in great shape, but it could be worse. We really need to be careful to keep Lap Dance alive, and I have a clever idea that I think will give us an edge. While we could send out Lap Dance first and hopefully one-shot his Pidgeot with Ice Beam, I have a feeling it'll outspeed us and hit first. Instead, I send out Thick, who outspeeds Pidgeot and takes it down with 2 Flamethrowers. This causes Asswipe to send out his Blastoise next. On the following turn, I swap to Lap Dance, who has the ability Water Absorb, and the Hydro Pump that was meant for Thick instead lets us restore a solid 54 HP. I send out Kick to put down some heavy neutral damage, and Blastoise uses Rain Dance, which boosts the power of Water-type moves by 50%. But since he won't be using Hydro Pump ever again for fear of healing me, the only offensive move he has left is Bite, which barely leaves a scratch thanks to Kick's Dark-type resistance and absurdly high special defense. 2 Brick Breaks and Blastoise eats his Citrus Berry, leaving him at half health. I don't want to put him into full restore range, so I use Strength to bring his health just low enough to finish him off with High Jump Kick. Next up is Alakazam, and I send out Thick, who's probably the only one on my team who can outspeed it, and has enough HP remaining to take a hit from Psychic. I use Wing Attack to take advantage of Alakazam's horrendous defense and bring it below half health. Psychic deals massive damage, but Thick holds on with a small chunk of HP left and finishes Alakazam with another Wing Attack. As expected, Surf obliterates the doubly weak Rhydon, and Flamethrower easily one-shots Exeggutor. I swap back to Lap Dance for Asswipe's final Pokemon, Arcanine. Unsurprisingly, it outspeeds us, and hits us with a Flamethrower that deals neutral damage. Like the champion he is, Lap Dance clings on with 1 HP and hits back hard with Surf. Arcanine takes us down on the next turn with extreme speed, and I send out Kick to deal the final blow. With one last super effective Rock Slide, the Doggo is defeated. And just like that, we've completed Pokemon Fire Red without ever using a single item. This challenge fucking sucked. Nah, I'm kidding. It actually went much smoother than I expected. It did occasionally get kind of annoying how often I had to run to and from the Pokemon centers, but it was actually kind of freeing not having to worry about money and item management. And man, I am proud of myself for the strategizing I pulled off to beat the Elite Four and Asswipe with no healing items, with this team consisting of only 5 Pokemon, with several type coverage gaps, no TM moves, and levels only in the mid-50s. 22.5 hours. I reached Indigo Plateau at 14.5, by the way. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the video, in which case please leave a like. And don't watch any of my other ones. They're very short and full of memes, so you'll probably hate them. Thanks for watching.